Thank you everyone for tuning in. My name is Cemal Ozgur, Outreach Coordinator for Fountain Magazine, and I have the pleasure of introducing Dr. Seyma Aslan, the author of our article titled Mother of Orphans in our latest issue. I will introduce her real quick and then we'll briefly talk about it. Dr. Aslan leads a team of scientists for innovation in product formation at L'Oreal Research and Innovation Laboratories, and is responsible for a global innovation platform which focuses on the zones of North America, South America, and Africa, and received her PhD, Master's of Science, Master's of Philosophy, and postdoctoral training from Yale University. So Dr. Aslan, thank you so much for joining us. You have done a lot of studying, teaching, and work with science, philosophy, and chemical engineering, but your article, Mother of Orphans, is not about any of this at all. It's not about any of your work, any of your education. In fact, it is about your grandmother, actually. So I'd like to ask, since this topic is so different from your work and your studies, what motivated you to write this piece?
Thank you so much, Jamal. Thank you so much for having me. I have always loved and admired my grandmother, but I will share with you when it first dawned on me to really write about her. Several years back, when I was in grad school, I was in a conference in New Haven on environment, climate change, and sustainability. And during that conference, there were a lot of big titles, big names, and they were discussing how to solve the problem at various levels, at the governmental level, at the society, at the community level, as community leaders, as citizens. And when they were talking about what we should all do at the community level, they were describing my grandmother without naming her. Then I realized that she was not only actually special for me and for her community, her small community, she was actually a treasure, a gem for the entire world. Then I started sharing more about her in the settings that I have been in, and the reaction that I had received was a lot of nods, a lot of confirmations, and a lot of, "Oh, Seyma, the story that you shared about your grandmother sounds just like my grandmother." And these were the people from Africa, from Asia, from Russia, from America. And at that point, I realized actually that I am not sharing the story of my grandmother. I am sharing the stories of thousands of grandmothers who are very special.
So what would you say were some of her best traits that really made her like this embodiment that you look up to so much?
There are many actually characteristics of her that I could share, but I will limit two of them and share them with you. The first one is the balance, how the fine balance between being frugal and also being extremely generous. She was at that fine line. And when I say frugal, it is really frugal, to the point where it is really hard to live with her. For my grandfather, it was. For us, it was. She would not tolerate any waste whatsoever. She would not tolerate it for her own self, for her family. But when it comes to sharing it with others, when it comes to actually her guests in her house, she was the most generous person that you could actually encounter. And when it was actually about the needy in her community, she recognized no boundaries whatsoever. She gave until she had none, and she would even ask us as the grandkids. We would, my uncles and aunts, they would give us some treats for our holidays, and she would even ask us as little kids, elementary school, middle school kids, to spare some money for those people who are needy that she's collecting. So her sense of generosity really is amazing. And also, I would, as the second point, I would say that she really believed in her cause, and she was very persistent and passionate about it. And she asked, as I mentioned in the stories, that she asked me about Clinton, and she would always ask me whenever I go back in the holidays, Seyma, how are the people in America? Are they really giving people? Should I come there to ask? So she recognized no boundaries, as I mentioned. So I would list these two traits.
That's great. That it seemed like she was the embodiment really of giving without asking any questions. And the article really is about like that sense of I would just give to everyone and it doesn't really matter, everyone's the same. So we are also in the holy month of Ramadan right now, and Muslims around the world are fasting and observance. So we are observing that, but also another big part of Ramadan is the spirit of charity and kindness towards others. Like you talk about your grandmother. So I was wondering if you have any stories from Ramadan about your grandmother that you could share.
Ramadan means to me connection. And when I say connection, it is actually connection in two different dimensions. One is in the horizontal dimension, where we are connecting with people. We are connecting with our neighbors. We are connecting with the needy. We are connecting with our relatives. We are connecting with our actually the community, and also our loved ones. And also the second dimension of the connection for Ramadan to me is the connection with our God, with our Lord. And of course, the connection in the horizontal dimension really strengthens the bond of the vertical dimension with our God. So so when I think about her in Ramadan, um, and when I reflect on these points of connection, I actually find no difference in her during Ramadan or outside of Ramadan, because she was connected. I don't remember a time where she was indifferent to someone who's needy. I don't remember a time when she was disconnected from her Lord. So I believe she was actually, to me, she was living Ramadan 600, 365 days in a year. So so with that, I hope that I could also live that Ramadan spirit, at least during this month.
Inshallah, yes, it's really great role model for all of us to strive to reach that level of charity and compassion for people throughout the entire year. We have a few minutes left. Would you like to end up with any other notes on the article or on your grandmother?
Um, so I was thinking also about writing a book, a memoir on her. And uh, and when I published this article, the reactions that I got, the emails, the messages that I had received was amazing. As I said, it is not actually just my grandmother, it is the grandmothers, it is the thousands of people who are very caring for their society, who are very caring for the earth, for the world that they lived in. And I hope that one day I will actually turn this into a book, to cherish her memory. And thank you so
Inshallah.
much for
Thank you.
hosting me.
Yes, her story reminds me very much also of my mother, who is very much the same.